Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Knowledge, traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Good morning, good afternoon, and evening. And thank you so much, Gertrude, for having me with you today. My name is Mirjana Arlaud, and I'm the founder and CEO of Future by Design, creative agency dedicated to sustainable development and women empowerment. And I'm based in Paris, in France. A little bit about myself. I come from Serbia. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so that's something that I have been growing up with this entrepreneurial mindset my entire life. That has been really beautiful, and I have seen my family and my father leading and growing and building basically three companies, which has always like give me this mindset that if you really like to do something, you can try and you can make a change by yourself. So with that, went through my education. I love studying. I loved school. And I think that brought me later in my life to really love working. So I'm trying to find a balance in life when it comes to that. So I grew up in Novi Sad in Serbia. I studied finance, banking, and insurance, surprisingly being a leader now of a creative agency. But I always had a drive to really go out there and study abroad, meet other people, meet other cultures. And with that, I really wanted to, find other people from my community who have done that. And, surprisingly, as we spoke earlier, initially, like some of the first people, they said, well, no one has done that. Don't try, don't dream, etc. But I really felt like, yes, I still believe it can be done. And so when I started my bachelor at some point during my second year of university, I felt maybe now is the good time to find a university abroad to study, or maybe to go for an exchange. And when I did found some options, the dean at the university at the time told me, well, if you go, you have to take all of the exams when you come back, because they believed that their classes were the best and not comparable to the European ones. And then I thought, like, okay, I still have my end goal. I still have the drive and the dream. I still go for it. And after I finished my bachelor, I decided, or as I was finishing, I decided to spoke to one of the scariest professors ever that was working at our university, who was known worldwide, and asked him as a mentor to give me a reference letter and help me in this journey. And he did, and it was very powerful that then we received feedback and I got scholarships. I went on to study at Bocconi University in Milan, which was a fantastic experience. And I think it was a beautiful experience for me, because I felt now I'm at this top university business school in the world. How will I compare to my classmates? And then once I arrived, I just realized, again, it's just platform and space for us to learn from everything that was being shared by these wonderful professors, and just fulfill our potential. And I was a part of the top of my class. So that was wonderful. And then I got into my second master. So I did two masters at the same time. I did one at Bocconi University in Milan, the second one in Copenhagen Business School in Denmark. And during the second year of my master's, they told me you have to do a compulsory internship. So all of my friends, they were really out there, they were applying, and I thought like, wow, I really need to choose something really, really good. And I think that was one of the first times I felt, okay, I have been an entrepreneur during my studies in Serbia. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18. I had my first company. I closed it to study abroad and do my master's. And so when I was in Copenhagen, I thought, how could I start having some positive change? And an internship in the UN actually uh, just was present, and so I applied, and they instantly took me, and that became the beginning of a wonderful journey. And I worked almost 10 years for the United Nations, first in Copenhagen, and after that in Istanbul. Um, and I managed to then lead from the age of 23, 24, a team of people that were much older than me. And I think that was really wonderful as well. Finding my place as a young woman who is very driven. I knew that I loved studying, I loved working, I had the passion, I worked really hard, and that was recognized by my mentors. And then I started also growing in my UN career. And after several years, I realized that I maybe want to step out from, at the time, my number two position of managing a global initiative introducing sustainable development in the global health sector. I traveled the world. That was beautiful. I met so many inspirational people. I've been everywhere from Philippines, Vietnam, Morocco, Tanzania, Argentina, United States, Finland, really. I traveled everywhere as we worked with the governments, with civil society, with academics, with the companies to try to introduce a positive change in the global health sector. And as part of this work, I helped the UN raise millions of dollars in funding. We established thousands of partnerships. But the part that always inspired me the most was the storytelling part. It was the impact that we really had in the field, and listening to stories of and writing stories of two women, for example, who were single mothers in Zambia, had menial jobs, and they had access to training opportunities offered through our programs, and got to be the operators of autoclaves, and which was considered to be a man's job as well in their communities. And this provided them with financial independence to provide better livelihood to their children. That was something that I found so deeply inspirational, and decided to open Future by Design back in 2018, which really was established with the core values of working on sustainable development, working on women empowerment, and really embedding deeply in our work the values of diversity and inclusivity, and never forgetting the importance of focusing in our work on women empowerment and gender equality, organizations and individuals as possible to tell their story, to raise their visibility of the important work they're having, the positive impact on the communities and on the environment, on the planet, and hoping that through our work, then they will also have access to more funds to raise more means to support the growth of their organizations, and to provide again support to many more people around the world. And I'm very, very happy that our work has been recognized by so many different UN organizations and international NGOs with whom we have been working for so many years now. But in parallel, Istanbul has treated me really well during my UN years, because just as I arrived for a year, and I met my husband. He also worked at the UN at the time, and yeah, instead of staying a year, we stayed almost 9 years in Istanbul, and we had two beautiful boys. And that has been a beautiful journey as well. At the same time, building a company during the pandemic and having two children, two beautiful boys under the age of 5 at the same time. It has come with its own challenges, sleepless nights, working at 2, 3 a.m., not being sure if you sent an email today or yesterday. um, but again, everything can be done with really, really good support. And I think that has been really wonderful to see the great support that I also had in my journey that came from my family. And initially from my parents and from my grandparents and I think it's wonderful. My brother also works with us in the agency, and he's also the right hand working with me on building this company. So I think that has been really great also to see that with great support you can also go a great
What
distance.
an incredible story. Oh my gosh. You have come such a long way. It's just fascinating to see what you're doing. Now, how would you define purpose-driven branding in your work?
Well, I think it's very, very interesting what we do because we do follow, closely all the creative agencies that are out there. They're just fantastic in their branding work, overall editorial design, motion design, animations, everything. But when it comes to telling a story of organizations that are purpose driven, like building campaigns for them, I think it's a different ball game. And what we realized and knew from the onset was that it needs to be human centered. At the end of the day, when we are telling the stories that are related to gender based violence, that are related to the stories of victims of landmine survivors, that we're telling the stories of communities that lost everything in the floods due to the climate crisis, you relate to people in the end, and you want to hear their stories. And I just mentioned these two incredible women from Zambia who received training through our work with the UN. I think that's what makes a difference, and you realize that you can have a positive impact. So for me, the purpose-driven design is really putting people first in the center about the design, like how we can help them shine and tell their story, how we can give them the voice. That's something that, one of the key questions sometimes we ask ourselves in the brainstorming at Future by Design is how do we give the voice to those who don't have it? And I think that has been very powerful and nice for us to work on, and it really drives our team in their own work, I believe.
So, what does your creative process look like when working with global change makers?
I think that the process might be very similar across the creative agencies when it comes to kickstarting a project.
Mhm.
But maybe what changes is the way we started. The same way we're having this chat right now, I think that's exactly what we do when we kickstart a project with the organizations we work with. We really want to know exactly who they are speaking to, what do they want them, what do they want them to feel, and you
Yes.
in the end of the day, what do they want them to do once they receive this information? And getting people to act is very, very difficult. It's actually the kind of the fourth step. So you need to inform the people, and then people might decide to ignore it or deny it, or there's like a pre-action and then they take the action. So we're talking behavioral change as well. So it's very interesting when we approach sustainability related projects.
Yeah.
How do we work on that? How do we tell the story really well, and what do we want people to do? Do we want them to sign a petition that will go to their local or national policymakers to make a
Mhm.
change in the laws and regulation? Do we want people to change their purchasing behavior? We recently worked on sustainable fashion campaign that launched in 20 something countries around the world and had a quite a high reach. So it
Yeah.
always changes. It depends on the audience we're speaking to, but we always try to go down to this emotional level, what people need to feel and what do we want them to do, kind of how they need to act when we approach our work. And then we see, yeah, what's the best way and angle to tell that story.
Now, the theme of this podcast today is called The Future of Work is Female and Remote. Are you hiring her? How have you built and led a successful remote women led team?
Thank you for that question. I think
Mhm.
that what I realized during my UN days is that I had some fantastic mentors, and one of them specifically traveled all the time, and we still
Right.
made it work. It was not even a question. If you work with someone that you can rely on, that is highly professional, you don't need to micromanage anyone. You just know that they're going to do great work. You need to connect from time to time. I think that that kind of opens, the door to so many opportunities.
Yeah.
And when we started in 2018 Future by Design, I was remote, our first designer. I'm very always happy to say that she's still on board with us. She's our head of editorial design now, which means that we're doing something kind of well at Future
Yes.
by Design after so many years. We worked from home and then realized, let's start and open an office and have people. And we started growing our team organically. And then the pandemic hit. And so everyone went back home. And we realized, again, we highly believe in the value of having an office, having a place where we can all gather, everyone who works remote, people who work in the office, we all come together as much as we
Yes.
can. Um, but yes, we're very, very open, and we don't see any issues in working remotely. And
Yeah.
our team is actually spread between Serbia, Paris, Istanbul, and Cape Town. And
Oh,
we really haven't had any challenges, because again, it's quite clear. Every Monday morning we meet all together. We have our weekly plan set out. We discuss the priorities, we discuss the workloads, and yeah, we make sure that always several times during the year, those ones who are in Europe, we see each other more often. Those ones who are
yeah.
outside of Europe, we at least try to get together for the annual strategic meetings where we take
Yeah.
a few days. Last time it was in Paris that we organized it.
Yeah.
And not only that we sit down to discuss and just pause on everything, what
Mm.
have we done in the past year or year and a half? Look, what do we want? What do we want? What's the dream? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what do we
Yeah.
want to do next? Because sometimes you're so caught up in project implementation that you forget again, maybe about that dream and the goal. And I
Yes.
think that's wonderful. And we also use that time really to visit as many museums as we can to get inspired from classical art, from modern art, from some local arts as well. So
Mm.
so I think that has been great for our team. So remote has never been an issue.
That's fantastic. So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about working in sustainability and design?
I sometimes feel it depends. It depends who is speaking about it, right? What we really believe in is that everyone that we recruit to work with us, either in-house or as our partner, we really look first if they care, if they
Right.
really believe that. We're not asking anyone to become a vegan and completely change their lifestyle, but just to generally, do they care about the topics we're speaking about? Do they care about the gender equality, access to education, etc.? Just the kind of the core values that people have. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you can hear that people maybe might not be driven that much. They just want to, I'm extremely highly skilled in what I do technically. Doesn't matter what I believe on the side. And I think that
Right.
you can't do your best work if you don't believe, because
Yeah.
only if you believe it in truly, then you can work on it. So maybe that's one of the things that I see about sustainability. If you really want to tell the story well, you really need to believe it yourself first.
Yeah. That's so, so true. Wow. Now, in all of this, you are balancing motherhood, you're running a company, it's global. How do you balance running a business with staying grounded in your values?
Um, I try to have my own like weekly check-in points. We have something that we've built, like a positive impact reporting for Future by Design, and we've become a member of Creatives for Climate. We are the member of the UN Global Compact, which is a global network of companies dedicated to advancing sustainability. So I think
Wow.
that we always try to assess where we are and how we're scoring, and do we also do not only kind of have a positive impact through the work we're doing for our clients and for the organizations we work with, but like, do we also create positive impact ourselves? Um, I think being a mother of two children under the age of 5 means that my days are quite full with running the agency, trying to build it. I try to, this year specifically, I try to be a bit more vocal. I think it started earlier this year when I was invited to give um, just a thought around the theme of whether becoming a mother changed my creativity and really
Yeah.
made me thinking. I put down all of these thoughts on the paper I shared, and then I shared it as a LinkedIn article in the end. And so many women started reaching out personally to me and writing that that really resonated with them. And I think it got me thinking that maybe I should do this more often, find also time for that. And I know that it sounds counterintuitive that you have two
Mm,
small children, you're running the agency. How do you even find more time to, for writing and things like this?
yes.
I think it's important. It's an important aspect of it. And as long as it resonates even with a few people and it gets them thinking about something, or we organize coffees and then we meet and we see just how much we have, shared experiences,
Yeah.
perhaps, then it just makes a whole difference.
So, what lessons have you learned about cross cultural contribution and collaboration?
Everything. The whole value is in it, really. I think
Yeah.
one of the first times I've seen the value of different perspectives was during my studies at Bocconi University in Milan. That one was different in terms of maybe that the culturally it was not as diversified as you would hope to have it, but in terms
Yeah.
of the backgrounds of experience and professions, it was extremely diversified. And that was one of the first times where I felt, well, an engineer will look at the problem in a completely different way that I will look into it, or
Yeah.
someone who is, have major like in finance or marketing and so on. And one of the first things also our professors at the time said, even if someone doesn't like each other, you'll have to find a way to make it work. And I think that was also very wonderful and great to see. And then starting to work in the UN, you realize that it's not about you. It's really like different cultures bring their
Yeah.
own set of beliefs and just
Mhm.
the ways of approaching things, thinking about them. And that has been beautiful too. I went from having two German bosses and one Australian to then have a woman leader from Zambia, and her approach to management was completely different. I can tell you, from two Germans. Um, and that was wonderful in itself because it just gives you a perspective of how, again, different people approach life and
Yeah.
work. And I think it pushes you out of your comfort zone. And I think you then just realize and you grow in different ways. And it's very, very healthy. I believe that strongly.
Mm.
And I think if not being able to work in um, multicultural environments, at least having an opportunity to travel and meet other people from different cultures also is very enriching.
That is so true. They say you're never the same person when you come back after you've traveled.
That is so true.
So, what role does empathy play in leadership for you?
I think it plays a very, very big role. And I think it's not easy being a purpose-driven leader. I feel that maybe it becomes sometimes challenging not to confront people about certain aspects, but you're just so driven to being like kind, and you're kind to everyone and you really believe and you're driven and so on. So maybe for leaders, again, of purpose driven organizations, it's a bit more difficult when it comes to managing, because you
Yeah.
just want to create an environment where everyone is supported. And sometimes maybe you need to adjust then how you approach like what you personally believe in and who you are as a person versus who you are
Yeah.
as a leader. And that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah. You have to kind of separate the two.
Yes.
So, how do you ensure that creative work leads to real world impact?
We always try to track as much as possible the impact and the key results of our work and campaigns.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's easy if it's online. We're tracking through AI-powered tools and platforms how it's performing, who is getting engaged, and something that we are really trying to work a lot recently with our organizations is to spark conversations as well. I think a lot of sustainability-driven campaigns have been around raising visibility and awareness. And maybe
Mhm.
something that we need to work next is really creating space for conversations to happen and include people much more. But some other campaigns or projects we're working on, they take a much longer time because
Yeah.
we might be working on the campaign that launches a flagship report on the state of women. Or like maternal adolescence and newborn health. But maybe what you're looking at is really the change in laws that happen in specific contexts, and that takes much more time. So
Yeah.
always we kind of try to have um, like a finger on the pulse and see what's happening and check in with the organization, see how that is evolving. But yes, every project in its own, it's very different. But we
Mm.
always try to see and understand what is the impact that we had, because in the
Mhm.
end of the day, it also needs to bring value to the organizations we work with, and kind of what is the difference that we made by hiring us to work with them.
So, can you share an example of a campaign or a project that you are particularly proud of?
Wow, there's so many. It depends. It depends. It depends what we're looking at. For example, at Future by Design, we're the lead creative agency to the Green Climate Fund. They're the world's largest dedicated climate fund. And we work with them on the creative direction of their second replenishment campaign. So this was an 18 months campaign that ran, and they raised 67% more funding. Of course, they did the fundraising themselves. It's not what Future by Design did, but we strongly believe that through a very powerful and bold branding and storytelling and implementation of that visual identity and the narrative angle, etc., through this campaign, really made a difference. And this campaign in particular reached more than 60 million people, and we're
Wow.
very happy with those results. But again, there are other projects I'm extremely proud of. There is editorial work that we did with the UNFPA in South and Eastern Africa to help them showcase the key results of the child marriage assessments work, like what is happening in the region, what needs to change, etc. And for this work, we actually received the International Design Award in Los Angeles. And
Wow.
when you look at the work itself, it also created a lot of positive impact on the ground when it comes to the legislations. So that has been also one of the positive works that we've been leading. But yeah, there's so many others that we always like to share. So it
Yeah.
depends how much time you have, because I'm very
Oh
proud
my
of the
God.
work we're doing.
I love it. I love it. It's good to know that there's a lot of stories that you can share and results that have come out of your work. I'm going to end with two last questions. It's a pity we didn't have a whole hour to really take apart what you do. But my last two questions are a bit of a thought experiment. In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back to the younger you, this young woman who went into the world of business, wanting to change the world through creativity. If I could take you back and you could go and give yourself three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be? And I really want you to give that advice as if there's a woman who's listening to this podcast right now and is wanting to start her own creative ventures. What three nuggets of wisdom could you share?
I would say that something that really stayed with me was at the beginning of my first years as an entrepreneur as well. My father told me at the time, don't worry, do the professional work. It does not matter how young you are. If you're a young woman, regardless of the context where you're operating, you just believe and do the things that you're doing are extremely professional, and the work will speak for itself. And I think that would be my first thought. Um, really be driven by your work, and the results will speak for themselves. The second one is, I would say that never forget the dream. I think that's very important. I know that financial independence is an extremely important of for everyone, but it's an extremely important foundational aspect of lives of many women. And I know that that needs to come first, but do not forget about the dream. What really drives you? What makes you happy? What you really believe in. And sometimes, if it will mean teaching a new project within your workplace or opening a new company, having a new idea, or just making some small change in your life, but that would be the dream for you. I would say never forget that. And three, I would say that never underestimate the power of the support system, the power of the family that you have around you, the one you were born into, the one you're choosing for yourself, because really, those will be, really, in my experience, at least in my own story, those will be the people that will really help you when the times are challenging. If you might be changing jobs, you might be building a new company. If you have small children and you need to lead the company at the same time, like in my case, the support system means everything because you can't do it all. You can do so much, and you are the one who can, just make it happen. You can achieve your dreams, but being realistic to accept when people want to help you, I think that's very healthy as well for your own mental health and well-being.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Last question is futuristic this time. And I'm going to teleport you into the future to meet the 90-year-old you. And
Hopefully.
she's in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, her great grandchildren. If we could teleport into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until that point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
I hope she's happy. I hope she's fulfilled. I really do hope that. I think I have been considering myself very lucky to be able to work with a great team, with great partners, with great, organizations trying to really bring the positive change in this world. And, you know, it has changed. It was United Nations, it's Future by Design. I don't know what the life will bring and how my path will evolve at any point of time. But I do hope that if I am happy enough to live, that I'm 90, that I am surrounded by my family, by my children and my grandchildren. We're in a beautiful place. It's Christmas. It's festive. It's full of love, and that I feel that I did everything I could to bring a positive change in this world. I might have inspired a few people along the road, that it might have just made some change. And yeah, that still my family feels that while I did that, I still had time for them. And I think that's the important part that I always try to do, to really have a balance in my work life and my personal life. So I do hope that I'm fulfilled and feel that my journey has been full of beautiful experiences and still balanced.
Absolutely love it. I love asking women that last question because a lot of times women forget that the wise woman is already in us, that she is that quiet voice that says, go left, go right, advocate, do this, do that. And we look outside of ourselves for the answers all the time instead of going within and listening to that inner voice. So I like to play with the energy of who I am becoming. She is a woman I talk to every single day. I know her well, my 90-year-old self. And sometimes when I get stuck, I go into my meditation, my prayers, and I ask her, so what is the next step? And I sleep on that. And then I'll wake up the next morning, I'm in the shower, and I get those light bulb moments where I figure something out, right? Because her subconscious mind doesn't stop processing. She's
True.
constantly working these things out for you. So thank you for tuning into your wise woman, doing the work that you're doing to empower women globally. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you so much for having me. I really consider myself lucky to be today with you on this call. I think that you're an exemplary leader in the field of providing place for women really to share their stories. And I do hope that through everything that you're doing, other women will also feel empowered and touched that they can make a difference. So thank you as well for everything and for having me with you today.
Absolute pleasure. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.